All right, Coach, how we doing?
Doing great.
It's a beautiful morning here at Frost County Stadium.
Yeah.
Too bad we won't be here on Friday night.
Yeah, that's too bad. We'll be back.
All right, Coach. So let's talk a little bit. First, let's go back last year, coming off a 4-7 campaign. Not exactly what you wanted, but you accomplished some things last year. There were some positives to last year that you can take into this year. Talk about that, just the momentum that you can gain from last year to this year.
Yeah. Obviously we play a really competitive schedule. I had a team that we knew was going to be, non-battle tested and really inexperienced. And so just kids who didn't have a ton of experience, getting their first taste of varsity football and getting thrown into the fire early. Had some injuries and some mishaps kind of happen early in the season. So we were playing a lot of young guys really early and often, which is hopefully good and pays off for a year like this year, obviously, returning a lot of those guys. But, sadly you go through some bad things sometimes when you're playing a lot of young guys that are going to make sophomore mistakes and stuff like that. So obviously excited for this year with a lot of those guys coming back, and I think really, really hungry to, find a way to have success. Ultimately, though, we got to put it together and get it done.
So, Coach, let me talk about the team this year. You got some young guys moving up. They've been kind of chomping at the bit for their opportunity to get out there. As you look at this team, offense, defense, special teams, what unit really stands out the most to you during your offseason?
We put a ton of emphasis on improving in the special teams, return a lot more experience on the defensive side compared to the offensive side right now. So I think the defense has been a little bit ahead of the offense as far as camp goes, that sort of thing. Our offensive staff does a great job, getting them ready week to week and stuff. And so I would expect when you get into a game week and preparing for a certain opponent to really start narrowing that playbook and some of those concepts down. So right now excited about our kicking game, really excited about Connor Reese and what he's able to do in the kicking game, and making sure we're putting some really good athletes around it. And then defensively, same thing, playing a lot of athlete type guys, not a huge big guys, but feel like we can run at every position and obviously, play fast. And that's the goal defensively for sure.
So, Coach, obviously you have a way of challenging these guys. You know what gets the best out of each player. As a head coach, that's kind of your job to figure out which guy responds the best to what type of coaching. When you talk about philosophy, what is your coaching philosophy?
Yeah, it really comes down to our 4 pillars: love, discipline, respect, relentless. There are 4 core pillars in our culture playbook. So we talk about those concepts and those ideas and beliefs, and then, behaviors. And so, our philosophy really comes down to, working that culture playbook day in and day out to ultimately have a product of building great young men. Do we want to win football games? Absolutely. Like, I'm a competitive person. I want that to have an unbelievably great experience doing this and playing football. And I want our coaches to have a great experience. And usually you have a better experience winning games, but it also can't be only that, or else you're going to be really unsatisfied at the end of the day. So, building great young men or women is the whole core principle of it and everything behind it. So when you kind of zoom back to that, can make some things easier. But, those 4 core principles, when we're working those really well, obviously we're going to have a better product and feel better about ourselves at the end of the day.
Talk about leadership here. I mean, that was one of your pillars, leadership. Mm-hmm. Talk about which leaders have emerged over the offseason for you this year.
Yeah, we have a great group of senior captains. Returning a captain, and Nevin Newman, is really big. He's been a great vocal leader, but also leading by example, the entire offseason and how we prepared last season as a junior, heading into obviously a senior campaign this year, and he takes that leadership role really seriously and wanting to not just individually achieve his goals, but wants this team to achieve, its potential too. So him alongside of our other captains that were just elected by their peers a couple weeks ago have done a great job really stepping up, and some of them are lead by example guys and aren't, super vocal, but each one kind of brings a different element. So excited to see their journey throughout the course of the year and how they kind of evolve as leaders. But we talk about everyone being a leader in some aspect. We have freshmen obviously who are looking up to those upperclassmen, and so they're going to see a leader, from a sophomore or even a junior who doesn't have quote unquote that, title, but titles are thrown around by whomever for whatever reasons. They're just titles. They got to be earned. So again, there's most likely, what I tell our players, someone sees you as a leader in some way, shape, or form, no matter what grade you are, what age you are, what position you play. So take that seriously. I tell our players, I haven't made a tackle or a touchdown or a block in years and years. It comes down to players. I have not won a single game or whatever. Yeah, they attach, wins to quarterbacks and head coaches, but seems like those 2 positions are kind of where they track wins. But again, it's a team game, man. There's 10 other, guys, if you're talking quarterback position as a head coach, it takes an army to get this thing done. So yes, I'm a competitive guy for sure, and I want our product to be really good, and I want to win games for them and for myself for sure, absolutely. But I think if you start zooming out and worrying about those things, you're not being where your feet are and taking care of business. So
let's talk about goals this year, Coach. Obviously, you guys have goals for the program, long-standing goals every year, but specifically this year, what are the goals? What do you set forth to try to accomplish by the end of this year?
Yeah, we have the same 3 goals every year. That's not going to change. Like, I don't wait on having a really good team to all of a sudden have a point of urgency that year. Oh, hey, we have really good players. Now let's be really urgent and all of a sudden give a crap. Like, no, we always are going to have the same 3 goals since I've been here year 1. And that's win our conference, whatever the heck they call our conference year in and year out, because we've kind of bounced around. So right now it's the SBC Lake. So our goal is to win the SBC Lake, qualify for the Division III high school playoffs, and then win the state championship. Why we have those goals? Well, there's a number of reasons why. Our goal is not to go 10-0. I don't schedule a 10-0 season. We schedule really good teams. I schedule a competitive schedule where if we win our conference, we're going to make the playoffs. If we don't win our conference, we play enough competitive schedule that we still have a chance to make the playoffs and then go on a run and really go after that thing. So that's our goals this year. That's not changed any other year because anything can happen. Do I think we have a good enough team to do it? Absolutely. But obviously there's some really good teams around here and far away that we'll even see during the regular season, obviously in a returning state champion. And so we're going to see what that looks like. And that's exciting.
So the standard is the standard, essentially.
Absolutely.
So I was scrolling through Facebook and I happened to see some parents posting videos from Tiffin youth football games down here yesterday. Seems like that went over really well. Yeah. A big hit with a lot of people in the community. Talk about just being there to help facilitate some of these changes.
I love youth football. Like I played youth football as a 5th grader because that was the first year I could play. I was a Moose Chief. My brother was a Moose Chief. And so youth football is obviously really important to me. Youth sports is really important to me. I have young kids and I want in any athletic endeavor they have from a young age to be a great experience, whatever they're doing, whether it's baseball, whether it's swimming, whether it's golf, and obviously football too. And so I want to make sure that's a great experience for anyone a part of it. I am no genius. I'm a really good bag borrower and stealer. And so, I looked at what we have done, and I've been involved with our youth football here kind of since being back in different ways. And I've looked at different models. And, I think the iron was hot for some changes and good changes, in my opinion. So really, with a ton of help from the Stalls, Mindy Fox, Matt Travis, other board members, a ton of the coaches with a little bit of experience returning back, getting, their feedback, have kind of arrived at this current format with starting our flag and having it being part of our league. We never had that before. So giving our kids an opportunity to play flag football for the first time. That was connected kind of to the YMCA for years, but now we're really trying to give it an opportunity within our league to do that. And then kind of this new endeavor of padded flag and then reduced size field and numbers tackle league to, again, make it as safe as possible, make it fundamental and developmental as possible, and kids having a great experience playing the game so that they keep playing. Because we have 7 different high schools part of our league. And so do I care about the kids who are going to become Tiffin City football players? Absolutely. But I also care about the kids who are going to go to Calvert, going to go to Cary, going to go to Hopewell, going to go to Seneca East and Mohawk. Like, I want those kids to have a great experience so that they can go off and talk positively about it as well. So they keep playing football. Because again, some people want to attack the sport. I think it's the greatest sport on the planet for a number of reasons. So I want to make sure we do everything in our power to get kids involved early and keep them involved for as long as possible. So it takes an army and a huge village to do it. And so yesterday was awesome, kind of see the fruits of those labors for sure. But we're going to make tweaks like anything. It's like a marriage. It's not all about the honeymoon stage. You're going to make tweaks and get better. So it was a great kickoff, but I'm excited to see again where it kind of develops from here.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a fun time. I could see a lot of positive things coming from that. And it's just going to keep getting better as it goes. Like you said, you're going to keep make changes, make the tweaks that you need to make it better. I think with the vision that you have for it, sky's the limit, man. And I think it's great that you're taking the reins of this because, I mean, after all, like you said, yeah, you're trying to get these kids ready for the next level. But, it's not just about your school. It's about these other schools in the area. And they're all feeding kids into that league, and they have been for years.
Yep.
I think the results speak for themselves. You see a lot of these kids on Friday nights, most of them been playing youth football. They started out there. So that's where the future stars are born,
Hopefully that's the goal. Hopefully. And we want to develop a product that again, transitions to any school. So we're not teaching Columbian's offense or defense, or in other schools it's a great fundamental version of offense and defense that's going to translate to wherever they go and whatever they do, and that's the goal. Again, make it enjoyable, make it competitive. Like I said, identifying early as players and keeping them identifying for a long time as players. So
that's important. So another thing that's important, Coach, week one. When it's upon us, it's here. Fremont Ross presents its challenges. There's a lot of people in both communities that really are invested in this matchup, just from a standpoint of community pride. Obviously, it's a road game for you guys, so it's a little bit different than it was last year, but what's the difference for you when preparing for this week one matchup on the road as opposed to preparing for a week one matchup at home?
It's not a huge difference, to be honest with you, because it is kind of a close bus ride. It's a hop, skip, and a jump over there, so our pregame itinerary doesn't change a great deal, being a road game. I'll have some work duties, obviously, during the day and professional development to get ready for the school year as an assistant principal. So those would be good distractions, because when you're playing night games on Friday nights and you don't have something to keep your mind off it can be a very long day. Yes. So I welcome those distractions during the day on Fridays for sure. The biggest thing is obviously momentum. They're going to have a big home crowd. They're a football community for sure. They care about their athletics. And in week one, everyone's excited, right? Nobody knows how good or bad you are yet. And so I know we're going to go over there and they're going to be really excited. They're going to pack their stands. I know we're going to do the same. So just obviously taking their crowd out of it and getting ours into it as soon as possible is going to be really big, and trying to keep that momentum, because that's real. Momentum in football games, I don't care, from high school clear up to the pros, it's real. If you can take a home crowd out of it or get your home crowd into it, it's a factor. It absolutely is.
Fast start, you think, is important?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Fast start is going to be very, very important. And then obviously, they're going to make plays. They've been practicing too. You're going to have week one stuff. Every year you look on, team schedules, and there'll be upsets week one when you kind of look at the end of the year and some records. You'll have teams who barely win a couple games, beat teams early in the year that, go on to have great seasons. So you got to try to take care of business, not beat yourself week one with mistakes and stuff like that, and get that momentum on your side early as early as often and keep it.
What would a successful week one look like for you? Is it all about execution? What does a successful week one look like for you?
Yeah, the coach speech response would be, taking care of the football, reducing penalties, not giving up explosive plays, and finding ways to make explosive plays and scoring in the red area. That's the coach speech. The competitor in you is find a way to win. That's right. I don't care if it's by 1 or 100, find a way to win. That's ultimately what success is going to bring. But you can't worry about doing that without taking care of all those things first. So, yeah, doing those things obviously usually will produce a win.
So third straight year now with a different starting quarterback. Obviously, high school football, you're going to have that.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But how do you prepare Logan, who missed last year, didn't play football last year? How do you prepare him for the rigors of a full 10-game or plus season? Obviously, you guys want to play 12, 15 games. Mm-hmm. How do you get him ready for that when he missed last year? Does that play a factor at all?
Really, with both quarterbacks, him and Liam have had great off seasons, really competitive camp, and do some different things well. But they're really similar in both aspects too. Really mobile guys who can run, look to scramble and extend plays and throw, and are really accurate with the football. So, obviously, to prepare for a long season, you got to have a long off season. And so, you got to have a great June, great July. You got to be in the weight room, got to prepare that body the right way. And I think both boys definitely have. If you look at, what they were size-wise, strength-wise a year ago as athletes to this year, they've both made great strides. And then you got to do things within the playbook that highlight their strengths and maybe, not hide weaknesses, but don't ask them to do something they're not comfortable with. And so they both are good enough to do a lot of things, but at the same point early in the year, you don't want to put too much on them either and overwhelm them. Just get things that they love, ask them to do things that they love and feel really confident about, and then go from there. So Logan's done a great job. We're really excited about, obviously, this season for him, and I know he's excited too.
Now let's talk about skill groups. You got some guys coming back. You got some key positions that had some really good experience last year that are coming back to fill some roles. Johnny Bremeyer, Deshaun Russell, talk about Mason Seitz, the role that he had last year. What are your thoughts on this skill group and just the expectations for that group going into this year?
Yeah, I think it's high expectations because of the amount of experience kind of returned in different ways. Now, it wasn't, Deshaun was a key player early and often, then he got hurt and missed a ton of the season. So insert, some younger guys like a Dalen Brandenberry, Braden Egbert. Blake Miller, guys like that who has sophomores played early and often. And they're really good sophomores, but they're still sophomores. So now you have all that experience plus a year of maturity now coming back as juniors. I think you should be excited, and I know we are. So, yeah, I think the expectations for them, too, have also elevated. You know, sometimes as a sophomore, they just want to find a way to get on the field, you know, and play. But now as a junior with that experience, now the demands go up. Now I'm expecting to kind of, you know, earn some individual awards and, you know, win. And so I think that's realistic and what we're asking them to do for sure.
All right, so Coach, I want to talk about position groups, specifically battles. Where do you think the best battle is going to be on Friday night where fans need to be watching the most? Is it going to be in the trenches? Is it going to be on the perimeter? Where do you think the best battle is? What position groups do you think are going to battle the best on Friday night?
That's a great question. I think it all starts up front, you know, O-line versus D-line in those two battles, because I think both teams are going to try to establish the run or at least have a efficient run game. And if one side doesn't compared to the other, I think you can get lopsided really quickly. I think that's kind of how last year's game planned out. You know, I think we were very efficient in the run game, and we kind of neutralized theirs and got up by enough scores that then kind of had to make them to become kind of a pass-oriented team. But I think both offenses and defenses are pretty balanced. So I think they've shown the ability. They got a good scrambling quarterback with some really good athletes around him that they can definitely throw it around if needed. But I think they want to stay balanced. If I know Coach Long and his team, what they have up front, they're really big, physical, got some good running backs. So I think it's going to be important to win that battle up front within the run game, but also pass protection too. You know, that's a really big thing too. You know, not taking negative plays and creating negative plays as far as defenses go. So I think if you have anything lopsided up front on either side, that team's going to win.
Yeah, that's for sure. Coach, I think one of the things that everybody wants to know about is like newcomers. Who's the new faces? Who are the new guys that we're going to see out there that we haven't seen yet? Are there any guys that really stepped up in the offseason and have earned their way onto the field on Friday night?
There's a lot of names, so I know I'm going to forget some, and I apologize, you know, off the cuff here, but, you know, some guys who have waited for this opportunity, and maybe some young guys, you know, guys like Brock Cecil. He's a junior. He's had a great camp. He's kind of waited his turn, man. And he's an extremely hard worker, very smart player. You know, he's a get-it-done kind of guy. I think he's going to have an outstanding season.
He's very instinctual as a youth football player. I know that for sure.
Great player and great kid. Ciante Moore is a new name, and I think is really bought in and, you know, used football to propel him as a young man in a lot of ways right now in a young way, and I'm hoping that continues, and is also a really good football player, has great instincts, has great energy and juice. Love watching him compete. A younger guy, a couple sophomores, Desarius Russell, a.k.a. Zoo. He's had a great camp. I think going to have an opportunity to get out there and kind of show his skills. Mason Burkett's another sophomore at a position group where usually, you know, if you got a couple guys who can play, they're going to play. Jace Arias is another kid who's kind of waited his turn. I think is going to be, you know, a name that you become familiar with and hear a lot on the defensive side of the ball. And several others. I know there's many more, but that's just a couple. But I don't want to give Fremont the recipe just yet.
That's right.
So I'm going to keep some of them in my back pocket.
So this is week one. You know, I don't want to put too much into it, but you want to put a little bit of extra emphasis on it, right? Because you got all this offseason building up to this. How do you get these guys pumped and prepared for this without overloading them?
Yeah, it's a great balance for sure. You know, we got a countdown clock in the weight room to the next game every year. And so this is the name that's up there the longest because it's, you know, the one you go into in the off season. So from 200 and I think it was 70 some days ago or 80 some days ago that Fremont Ross, you know, sign has been up to the countdown to them. And so getting to see that day in and day out, you know, when we break things down, it's obviously beat Ross for quite some time. So you're hearing it over and over and over. You know, you don't just prepare for their offense, defense throughout camp. You obviously got to sprinkle in other concepts and things you're going to see from other teams through the course of the season. But at the same point, you probably spend a little bit more time on the opener than any other game just due to time. But at the same point, like you said, it can't be the Super Bowl. You can't play your best week one, or else you're gonna have a disappointing season. So, you know, I told our kids that last week, and I'll probably reiterate to it. You know, there's been years that we've lost this game and go on to have really good years. There's, you know, last year we won this game, really competitive game, and then I don't think, you know, maybe maximized our team's capabilities from that team in the beginning due to some injuries and stuff like that. But and the same thing for them. You know, they've won this game and then fizzled a little bit, and then they've also lost this game and gone on to have a strong year. So you want to win because it's week one, and obviously you want the one in the win column compared to the L column. But at the same point, no matter what, you got to flush it and move on and get better. So that's going to be the message right after the game. Doesn't matter, get better, win or loss.
So that's the message after the game. First, heading into this game, what's your message to the team?
It's going to be a lot of individual battles and do your job. You can't get outside yourself and try to do somebody else's job and make a play. Make the play when the play is there to be made, at your position group. You can't, panic when adversity strikes, because it's going to strike. I have never coached in a game or played in a game where it was just pedal to the metal. Well, maybe a couple at Mount Union, but because even then, coaches obviously built in adversity in some way, shape. There's going to be pushback. There's going to be resistance. They're made out. It can be flat out adversity, obviously, where things are going badly. You got to bounce back. You got to be tough and, anticipate it, expect it's going to happen, and see how resilient we are.
All right. So last question, Coach. What's the message to Tornado Nation? What do you have to say to the community out there as your team heads into week 1?
Appreciate the support as always. I think you're going to be really proud of this team's effort and attitude throughout the course of this season. Got a bunch of great young men, people associated with the program. So come out, cheer us on, be loud, give us the home crowd advantage while we're at home, but also show up obviously on the road too and support these guys because they really deserve it. They absolutely do.
All right, Coach. Well, I appreciate your time. Thanks again.
Thank you.